U.S. is under attack. Most of it's from it's our own political leaders. We have to stop our political leaders from taking down our country. We need energy independence. We have to solve our border issues. And I'll tell you what, the young punks in Congress that are the squad need to have somebody with a backbone to stand up to them. I got somebody that may be able to do that, but after this podcast, you might be able to make your own mind up. I've got Matthew Shoemaker, and I'll tell you what, I had to reach out to him after, and we'll have our team put this out there. His meme for his line is, wouldn't you love to make me see take Alexandria Cortez on? Defund stupidity and send intelligence to DC. All right, he had me there. All right, welcome, Matthew, to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Who's your campaign manager? Because that's huge.
So my campaign manager is a guy by the name of Luke Hayes. He's a wonderful individual. He actually has been just an absolutely phenomenal individual here with my campaign. And in terms of marketing and branding, absolutely. And, we're head and shoulders above any of the competition. Defund stupidity and send intelligence to DC. I'm a former intelligence officer with the Navy, so it was just it was an easy fit for me.
Holy smokes. Thank you for your service. You always hear intelligence doesn't go hand in hand with either the Army or that. So we got to do something about intelligence and politicals.
Got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. Absolutely.
Now, you're in North Carolina 13. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's the Raleigh area of North Carolina.
Okay. And do you feel that you've got your primary coming up in 5 weeks?
5 weeks, March the 5th, Super Tuesday. It's coming fast.
Holy smokes. We better get production on this like now. So I'll tell you what, how do you stand in your rankings right now?
So there was just some polling released a few weeks ago that currently had me in the lead, which is just absolutely wonderful news. I was actually on active duty orders with the Navy until about 6-7 months ago at this point. So, while I don't have the deepest pockets, my candidacy is certainly resonating like crazy amongst the electorate. We just have the best message of anyone in the field, and I have the most experience, the passion, and the energy to take on DC and to take on people like AOC in Congress.
I think you got a sense of humor, and I don't know if you're going to be able to sustain. I'm going to ask you right now, point blank. Why is it that politicians go to DC broke, and then all of a sudden they go out multi-millionaires? You got any insight on that, bad dog?
I have theories to it at the moment, not being steeped in the Washington muck or anything like that. My theory is there's probably a couple different motivations behind it, but I think one of the main ones is that DC is just a nest of vipers. These are people that will, smile at you and try and be your friend, but behind your back, they will stab the knife in and they will throw you under the bus as soon as they find it expedient for themselves. So I think what a lot of these people do is, one of the motivating factors being they try to protect themselves. And one way you do that is by you amass a lot of wealth. When you have a lot of money, because money in DC talks, it's a way of protecting yourself and it's a way of getting influence on top of it. So I think that's one of the main factors involved in that.
How are you going to insulate yourself from that horrible mess? I mean, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, I'm not there to make friends. And quite honestly, I'm there to simply be effective. I don't necessarily want to hang out with these people. And I think one of the other things is, though, too, is that I'm a big supporter of banning any member of Congress or their spouse from trading in stocks. I think that's one of the main ways that people are getting wealthy on the taxpayers, not exactly their dime, but at the taxpayer's expense. Nancy Pelosi for years actually blocked that legislation for understandable reasons, because that was the way that she and her husband made their vast amounts of wealth because of that.
Right. Okay. We're going through my checklist here. Chink, chink. All right.
All I can do is be me. That's all I can do.
I'm feeling your authentication or authenticism I can't even. I'm from Oklahoma and Texas, so we talk
Oh,
a
you're
kind.
totally good. Well, I
Uh,
mean, that's one of the hallmarks of my campaign, to be honest, is that this is just about real Americans and real problems. The funny thing is, my favorite is Ronald Reagan, because he had a million different one-liners that were
right.
terribly memorable. And one that always stuck with me is when he said that the solutions to our problems are often simple, but they're not easy. In other words, this is not rocket science for a lot of our problems that we have when it comes to things like control the border. We know how to do that. You hire the proper people to patrol the border. You build the wall, and you make sure that people who should not be getting through are not getting through. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Let me switch over to energy here. You and I just kind of what we were chit chatting before the show, and energy is kind of important. What are your thoughts on energy?
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, energy is not only important, it's probably the driver of the economy, because the more energy that a country can produce, the cheaper that they can produce goods, the cheaper that they can produce, cheaper that they can grow, for that matter, which is one reason why China, for example, has invested so incredibly heavily in its energy sector. It primarily utilizes coal in order to do that, because it's the cheapest thing that they found that they can do, and that's the way that they've driven their economy. When it comes to the United States, as we mentioned before, when we were chit-chatting before this, I use the famous phrase from Barack Obama, which is Joe Biden's been on the wrong side of every foreign policy issue for the past 30 years. And energy independence, among the litany of problems internationally that we're currently facing, is yet but another one of those problems that the Joe Biden administration just does not care about. So when it comes to energy security, energy independence, we had that under the Trump administration, where we just flooded the market with cheap
Right.
American oil. It almost bankrupt Russia, actually, because 50% of their government's budget comes from its oil revenue. What we were doing internationally was just phenomenal under that aspect to it. So to see us walk back and become energy dependent and energy insecure is quite honestly a sin in my book.
Let me ask a personal question on here, and that is, I've gotten old enough that we can take a look at the for our podcast listeners. Moses and I were buddies, and then we're looking at Matthew, and he looks like he's a biscuit older than just getting out of college. So, I'm sorry for insulting you, but
No, you're good.
pretty
This is not the
young.
first time. I get this a lot. I'm actually 35.
Okay.
I spent 10 years in the Defense Department as an intelligence officer, and before that, I was doing my PhD work in nuclear war strategy at King's College in London. So I've had quite a life. Nowadays, I'm a military and national security commentator for Fox News and Newsmax. So yeah,
Hey,
I may look younger than I am, but I certainly have the life experience to go with it.
well, I'm going to have to get you on a podcast with George McMillan. I'll shoot you his information. He and I have been talking about a lot of the geopolitical stuff around there. Now, this is going to bring up another question, Matthew. If you're in politics, let's say you're in the Congress, you're sitting there and you don't know an answer. What do you do?
Well, there's certainly no shortage of things that I don't know, and I love the Socratic phrase of the truly wise man knows that he doesn't know anything. But when you don't know something, the proper answer should be, "I'm not sure. Let me get back to you." And at that point, you do the digging into whatever the question is. You find the people who know the answer,
Right.
and you have them as a resource. Like that. That is one of the primary responsibilities, if in one sense, in terms of a member of Congress, is to use the resources available to get the job done and to be effective. And people can certainly be a resource for their knowledge and expertise. That's the entire purpose for having all of these committee hearings that we always have, is that they call before them experts on whatever said topic it's supposed to be, and they give their expert opinion so that best legislation can be crafted. But that's the perspective that I take to that.
Boy, it sure seems like that's a good answer, but what happens when we have so many hearings? And because I'm trying to tee you up for when in about 3 years or 4 years when you're running for president, you never know when that's going to happen. You're going to have somebody chewing on you here,
Why would you wish that on me? Gosh. You know, when people ask me why I'm running for Congress, my first answer is usually self-hatred. So, so for to wish me to run for president, gosh, you must really hate me.
Oh, I'm enjoying myself right now, and it's better you than me because
Okay. Okay,
you
that is
know,
one perspective. I appreciate that.
you first, man. Poor old Trump has just been brutalized, and you
Yes.
are setting yourself up for a lot of attacks. So
And it's been coming actually, you know, being at the head of the pack with regards to my race certainly has put a target on my back. And you know, the funny thing is I actually kind of enjoy it. I find it rather humorous, mostly because my perspective is, you know, the people who are attacking me don't know a thing about me. They've seen what they've seen on social media, they've seen what they've seen on my website, and they just attack me for that. And it's like, you've never even spoken to me. I'm really impressed that you hate me so viscerally based off of, you know, a few lines that you read online. Have at it.
I'll tell you what, we're going to have your thing for our podcast listeners. We have a picture of AOC versus MJS. Matthew, and what's your middle name?
Joseph.
Joseph, I love it. And you're standing there and you're looking really dapper on there. You got your arms all flexed out, and she's got a microphone, and it's vote for Matt for Congress. And I'm sorry, no wonder people hate you. I love you. I'm sorry if you're, it's pretty funny.
I think
So
Margaret Thatcher had a wonderful phrase of, if you're not getting attacked, you're not doing it right.
I, I like it. Now, when we sit back and take a look, how are you going to keep your attitude's phenomenal, but I think it's right before you're going to have the stick to itiveness for a while. How do you maintain sanity at home? Do you work out? Do you beat the cat? Do you beat your wife? Do you stop beating your wife?
No, actually, I do enjoy the gym. Actually, the gym is my stress relief, if you will, which is why I call that my Captain America picture, if you will, the one that you were just referencing. But no, I enjoy the gym. That's how I usually kind of do my stress relief sort of thing. But when it comes down to it, of just putting the head to the grindstone and just keeping at it, you know, I've been in a how do I phrase this? The things that I've seen in my career over the course of the military are unfortunately things that people shouldn't see. And it's certainly taken an emotional toll. And the sad thing is, you know, since most of the stuff that I've done is classified and I really like not being in prison, I have to refrain from going into too much detail about what that actually was. But nonetheless, you know, when it comes down to it, of getting the job done and being effective, that's where I derive real satisfaction and real enjoyment. And that's what keeps me motivated more than anything.
I'll tell you what, you're a breath of fresh air here. I'm just sitting there about ready to put my head in the toilet because of our political situation going on right now. And I'm thinking the youth are not stepping up.
Well,
And
I mean, so the way that I see it is that there is a generational divide in terms of letting go of the reins, and the older generations, for whatever reason, are having a very difficult time of giving up those reins. And I believe the statistic that I read was millennials, for example, make up 25% of the population, but only about 8% of the population in Congress, interestingly enough. So there is underrepresentation there.
wow.
The thing is, though, is that unfortunately, when it comes to bringing in the youth into the Republican Party, it's going to take someone from their generation to speak to them about the issues that they care about. And one thing that I think we've been severely lacking in the Republican Party is to try and make a concerted effort to reach them. And the way that we do that is
Yeah.
talking about things that matter to them. And prominent right now, the number one thing that I've seen talking to young people is home ownership, and the fact that they have seen the goalposts for homeownership change significantly just in the past 3 years alone. If you had
Right.
been saving up for a down payment of a house, which was roughly about $40,000 up until a few years ago, you know, you worked hard for it, you were trying to do it, and then all of a sudden, you know, COVID happens and the housing market stops effectively, and then interest rates climb astronomically. Now Average price of a home is $416,000. A down payment of 20% is roughly 80,000. So to
Right.
go from 40,000 to 80,000 over a 3-year period just moves the goalposts and makes homeownership seem impossible for young people. So that is the issue that they are most interested in right now. And that's what we as Republicans need to speak to about how to give them that slice of the American dream and to be there for them and be their advocate. And that's what I'm here for, and that's what I'm going to do.
What a way cool. I'm over here. I'm like, I'm going to have a little Superman shirt on behind you here going, go, Matthew, go, Matthew. Because that's exactly what we need, hope. All of the
Yes.
millennials that I've talked to, fortunately, Michael Tanner, my business partner on the podcast, is a hoot. He's a millennial, and I absolutely love that young man. But he's almost just like you, impervious to bad things. And but the other millennials that I'm talking to are like, holy smokes, get the Harry Carey knife. This is not good.
Yeah, I am forever the optimist, if you will. And that doesn't mean that I don't see the problems that we do. The way that I look at it, though, is, things are so bad, it's not going to take much to start making improvements. That's what it comes down to, is that we just need a concerted effort, and that's what I'm here for, to get elected for. And that's why I need your supporters' help in supporting me for it. And as I mentioned, I don't have the deepest pockets. I don't have, the name recognition of someone who's been running again and again, sort of thing. So any support that they can provide to me and my candidacy would be more than welcome and absolutely appreciated.
How do people find you and donate?
Sure. My website is votemjs.com. I'm on Twitter at votemjs and Facebook at Matt Shoemaker for Congress. There's links on the website to it, and it's absolutely wonderful. We don't sell anyone's data, actually. We don't use WinRed. We don't sell anyone's data or share it with anyone. So when you contribute to our campaign, you're not going to get any of those pesky emails or so from random candidates because you helped us out.
That is very honorable, and I'm very happy to hear that. I'm going to go donate as well too, but we're going to get the story out here as well. What are some of the biggest platform issues you want to talk about? We got about 3 more minutes here, but on the other hand, tell us what your vision is for America.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one issue right now, of course, is border security. It's not just a national security issue, because that issue has been talked to death in a certain sense. Border security being national security. It's true, but it's border security is also family security. The rise in crime that we've seen, the rise in drug use that we've seen, and drug overdoses that are hitting our streets, and people are seeing this when they go to work, when they drop their kids off at school. That is a direct result of our open border policies. The amount of people and resources that are now being diverted to take care of migrants are those that are not going to the police department. It's not going to education. It's not going to anything else other than to take care of people who should not be here. So that is the number one issue. The second issue, of course, is going to be the economy and inflation. When food prices are up 30% in the
Right.
past 3 years alone, every single person listening to this knows the frustration and the anxiety when they go to the grocery store and look at their receipts. I know it myself. I do it every single time that I go shopping. And so those are the two main issues that I'm seeing. The third one, of course, is going to be election integrity more than anything. Having faith in our system that those who are elected are actually the people's choice. These are big problems, but the solutions to them, they're simple, but they're not easy. It's going to take someone who can get the job done.
I'll tell you what's also concerning. You mentioned voter integrity. You've mentioned all of those kind of things. Right now, it seems like the Republican Party is fractured, and we don't have anybody with cojones. And in Texas, we call them balls. So and if you're going up against AOC and her balls, we got to get. Did I just say that? She never mind. We'll probably anyway. So when we go through and we sit there and we talk about, are you willing to shut the government down in order to close the border? If you had to have that vote today, would you shut the government down?
Yes. Plain
Okay.
and simple. Yes. I'm a big student of history, which is why I keep bringing up all these one-liners and quotes. Winston Churchill once said that to waste time is a terrible sin. So I will not waste time and give you a straight answer. Yes, I absolutely would shut down the government to close our border.
All right, that was, well, you hit all my hot buttons on that one, and I had a vision there of AOC that I did not need to have, so we'll just leave that one alone. So
I'm not going to touch that one.
neither am I. Anyway, well, I'll tell you what. What's your website again? Because I absolutely just made myself throw up.
VoteMJS.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna have
Absolutely, I had a great time. It passed like a flash. That's a credit to you.
and I'm gonna go throw up. Thanks.
Okay.